What's up? What's up? It's the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke. I'm Arthur Moats, and that's my main man, Deke.
What's up, man? Glasses off for this one.
Okay. Drop the glasses. Deke's for real this time, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
this what happened when the Steelers get a primetime win. Deke comes in here feeling himself. He did the same thing after the Bengals game. He's like, yo, I'm going to shave the face a little bit. I'm going to throw in something fresh for the outfit, for the camera, because you a mood out here. You know what I mean? People really know you in these streets. So I'm like, okay, Deke, I like it, bro.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm feeling good after the win. For sure. It was a big win.
Yeah, huge win. And we're going to get into that win, but we also got to let y'all know. We got something very special for all you Steelers fans out here, all you Pittsburgh believers, my Yinzers. We got the legendary Bill Cowher joining us on the podcast later today, so definitely want to stay tuned for the rest of this episode so you can hear my man talk. Legend.
We're hot off that interview right now, and I think you could. It's just still in the air here. The vibe, we got that Cowher vibe to us here.
Man. We're feeling real Cowher-esque.
Like motivated. You know?
I mean? I'm just ready to go head by the wall right now, bro.
Did he drop some gems? I was just ready. I was ready to put a helmet on and go out there and throw a football.
I mean, but you wouldn't understand.
I've never played the game, man.
All right, so we're gonna let y'all know just a little bit of this little backstory, right? So during the Cowher interview, he's going on, he's giving us all this knowledge, all these gems, and Deke asked him a question, and in the middle of the answer to the question, he says, I really like talking to guys who played the game because they just understand it. Some people that never played, they just don't get it. And I'm over here trying to hold it together. Deke's face is like, yo, did you really just say that? But it was so pure. It was just so innocent. He just dropped it.
I don't think he meant anything by it. I'm hoping. I told this to you before we recorded. I just want Cowher to like me, man. That's all.
It's like, he ain't never played the game before. So it's like Arthur played 9 years. You understand how this goes. Shout out to Deke though, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a dope question that you asked to get that out, but man,
I thought it was decent.
And he said good question prior to answering. He was like, that's a good question. Then he's like, but you never, it's like, I like talking to guys who played, guys who understand what it's like.
I don't blame him, man. I really don't. I do too. That's why I'm talking to you.
So, man, y'all definitely stay tuned so y'all can hear the rest of that interview. Oh, man.
It was good.
Yeah, it was real good, though, man. Y'all are going to love it. I promise. Shout out to Deke, though, man. Golly.
Thanks, man.
But the Steelers got the big win out in LA on Sunday night, man. Won 24-17. I don't even want to call it an away game because, I mean, if anyone who watched the game, they saw it was 80-90% Steeler fans. They played Renegade, terrible towels everywhere. It was a home game at the Steelers' West Coast location.
That would be such a unique environment to be in.
Yeah.
Because what's the capacity in that stadium?
It's like 30,000, I think.
Yeah, to have it be almost like a small college stadium, right, and to have it be packed like that, away game with all these Steeler fans, like that was probably such a unique experience. Because LA's not, they're going to be getting that new stadium, right?
And they're going to share that with the Rams.
That was like a once in a lifetime type of moment for all the fans that went to that game. So kudos to them. Wait, did you see the video, the Renegade thing?
Absolutely, I did. And Melvin Gordon was pissed about it, man. He's like, how you going to play that in our home stadium? Like, we already feel like we're on the road with all these Steelers fans in here. I'm like, yeah, Melvin. Take it, bro.
I see whoever did that, what they were trying to do. Because it was kind of clever, but
yeah, kind of.
You didn't know what you were getting whenever you just all you gotta do is play a little bit of it, and
you play with fire, you will get burnt. He's like, oh yeah, let's drop the Renegade, man. Drop the Renegade on him. Okay.
Wait, did you see what they did though?
I didn't.
Well, no, they dropped the Renegade, and then like after 5-10 seconds, they rickrolled it.
Yeah.
They faded it into a rickroll as like, oh no, we ain't really gonna play the whole thing. Like, screw you guys. But like, all you gotta do is play like,
and the fans are gonna go crazy. They know Renegade.
And then they were just laughing. All right, funny rickroll. We're still going nuts.
Yeah. They inspired them, man. They got them going. So, terrible job of whoever was DJ. Great job for Steeler Nation out there, man. But the thing I'll tell you is this, man. I had the opportunity to play the Chargers when they were in San Diego. And Granted, the stadium was a lot bigger, but it was still a similar situation where it was 85% Steeler fans out there. I remember them booing Phillip Rivers when he was being introduced. I remember them have to operate on a silent count. It was the Monday Night Football game where Mike Vick starts, scores like right up the walk-off touchdown, running out the Wildcat. Like, that game was crazy, but the fans, Steeler Nation is literally everywhere. And people are like, oh, they travel out there. I'm like, they didn't have to travel. They live out there. You go to LA right now, you go to California right now, it's Steeler bars everywhere. We experienced it in San Fran, just how crazy Steeler Nation is, and how most of the people that we met out there were like, no, we live out here like full time. But that's just Steeler Nation. That's why you love them, baby.
No, absolutely. Big shout out. Way to represent out on the West Coast.
Absolutely, man. And I guess we'll start with the performance of young Duck Hodges.
A lot of hot topics, huh?
Yeah, man. I figure, we could work our way through this thing, man. So we'll start with Duck. How do you grade his performance, man?
Like B+.
Okay.
Like, it was perfect for what we needed from him.
Now, why just a B+? Why not an A++, man?
The pick. That's
you weren't feeling the pick? Okay.
That was the last thing you needed at that point in the game. Because the time was on your side. All you had to do was keep milking it. And he did what I think some people were concerned about him doing, trying to sling it. A little bit? Yeah, just for being like an inexperienced rookie, and he has that confidence.
You're sounding so different. That's how I was talking last week on the podcast when I said, "Hey, I understand he's a rookie. Sometimes you don't know what you're supposed to be worried about." And I seen guys who are never scared of anything get knocked out. Like, that's what we said, right?
Right.
And you were like, no, man, you got to let the duck, just let this thing fly. I believe in him. He's super confident. You shouted out my man Banger John for Steeler Gang and all of that, right?
Yeah.
But this is not sounding like the same like conversation. Am I missing something here?
Yeah, because there's new information.
No.
I've been telling you this. I'm a nuanced guy.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
I know the passionate fans in there, but also a little nuance. So what we saw from Duck against the Ravens was what we were talking about, or what I was predicting, or what I was looking forward to out of him, at least.
And what is that?
He just looked fearless back there. He's slinging. He's got a good arm, and hitting those side routes like it was nothing, and brought us back in the game. Brought a certain amount of confidence, and that all happened. That all happened. I'm not trying to take all that back, because I stand by what I said.
Okay.
But you were probably right too in saying that. Hey, I just wanted to bring up the topic. I'm just gonna be straight. I just wanted to say QB controversy, and let's roll with it.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, you were probably right in saying, hey, we should hold off. And I gave you that. I gave you that on the podcast. I said, yeah, you know what? Honestly, this is just all talk right now. It's probably better to see what happens on Sunday.
Okay.
Because most likely Mason's going to be out. Duck's going to be the starter anyway. So, and new information. I mean, that pick really, because everything was perfect up to that pick.
Yeah. And
the thing is, we were texting back and forth a little bit about it, and he played great for all the situation, Sunday Night Football on the road, at the Chargers, and his first start. But there was nothing that I saw, especially Mason in the Cincinnati Bengals game, and then even before he got knocked out in the Ravens game, he was playing just fine. There was nothing that he did that was crazy different that what Mason could have done. And Mason wouldn't have thrown that pick. I just would bet $1 million he wouldn't throw that pick.
It's so refreshing to hear you come back down a little bit, and you're not the only one, because we talked about how like it's similar to when Ben got hurt. The hype train surrounding Mason was out of control, and we talked about how you can support a guy and be optimistic for him, but have realistic expectations. Similar situation with Duck. I mean, the story behind it was phenomenal. He obviously comes in that Ravens game, and I always tell people the backup quarterback has a better chance of looking good versus a team that he's just coming in, forced into action because he's prepared for them. They're not prepared for him. And that was the situation. But when you take him on the road, the way that people talk about his performance would have been as if you expected him to just be a technically fourth quarterback on the roster, undrafted guy. Hey, manage the game. Don't turn the ball over. You look at the numbers, 10 of 15, 132 yards, a touchdown, interception. That's not what people were talking about in terms of expectation for Duck. What did you say when you said a good game for him would be what? About 250 yards? Well, you said 272 yards, right?
Yeah, because I included the passes to Connor.
Right. So
here's the thing, though. That was in expected game flow of a different type.
But what type of game flow would you have wanted?
No. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. This was perfect for him.
Okay.
Not necessarily the what would you say, the mega stats or the good stats that you would want to see out of him, but in terms of a total team win, it was perfect. Because
now all I'm gonna say is this: don't say a total team win for him when Mason did that exact same thing in San Fran. Numbers were better and everything. Exact same thing. Ooh. Dinkin and Duncan. People were talking about
Fran.
His first start on the road. Well, I got both of their first start numbers. Doug Hodges' first start on the road, 10 for 15, 132 yards. Because I just wanted I had to do this week. And I hate it because I'm not hating, but I just don't like when people get crazy sometimes. So I was just educating real quick. Okay.
Right? So I was out of line last week.
It was some people, you weren't the only, it was a lot of people. So Doug Hodges, 10 of 15, 132 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Now, his average travel pass was 3.3 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
You look at Mason Rudolph's first start on the road, similar situation, right? On the road, West Coast.
Better team.
A way better team, undefeated team in San Fran. 14 of 27, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had the interception, but he also threw the bomb to Deontay Johnson. Remember that? Yeah, actually 2 of them, 2 deep passes to him for the touchdowns. So all I'm saying is, after that performance, what did everybody say about Mason? He needs to throw the ball deep. Oh man, the coach said, can't trust him, man. He's not taking shots. Everything he throws is dink and dunk. But when Doug does that,
the line wasn't that good for that game though either.
And that's still fine.
Right.
But when Doug did the same thing and his passes were actually shorter, then it's, oh man, he's masterful out there. He's so poised. He looks great as a, and then like, that's that narrative that gets me all the time. I'm just like,
no, see, I'm with you. Okay. I'm with you on this. But I guess I assumed just more yards because I thought it would be more of a back and forth game. That was the perfect game for him based off how the game started. Like there was nothing more that needed to be done.
Let's be real now. If that would have been Ben out there, would we have got more? It was 7-zip.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been this close.
Right. And think about this, right? Even when you look at the passes he was throwing, 90% of them were just to James led the team in receiving with 7 catches, 78 yards. All of James' catches were 3-yard passes or 5-yard passes, and he just makes a guy miss and scores. But that's not the way that the people are trying to hype it up. They're trying to make it as if, hey, man, Duck was out there slinging that thing. You're like, man, come on now. All I'm saying is, can we be realistic?
Because he did throw, I don't know, maybe 2, 3, or 4 passes past like 10 yards, and they didn't look too pretty.
The first one to Juju, the double move that should have been a touchdown.
Yeah,
he beats Casey Hayward, Pro Bowl corner, on the double move, and the pass is very underthrown. I mean, this is another thing that was getting me. People, when they were trying to justify like why Duck should be the starter going forward over Mason.
Wait, are they saying this now?
Yes, absolutely. People are still saying this now. So
that should not be the case.
People were saying this as of yesterday on my radio show. People were calling in saying, hey, man, I think Duck should be the starter even if Mason comes back. Miami, Duck should be the guy. And this is the pass. They said, I was like, so you saw his numbers? It's like, yeah. I was like, so you know Mason's numbers were better? It's like, yeah. But did you see that throw he made to Juju on the slant? I was like, are you talking about the 4-yard slant route where the linebacker's inside, the corner's outside, he fits it in a tight window, but it was only a 4-yard game.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, that pass right there was awesome. I'm like, you realize Juju had, it was 7 yards, excuse me. He caught it at 4 and fell for it. Juju had 1 catch, 7 yards, 4 targets. I said, that's the pass that you're justifying that Duck should be the starter over Mason going forward and why Duck is a franchise quarterback. I said, man, listen, I understand the story. I love the story because me being an FCS guy, me having to overcome a lot to play in this league.
You were the one that shouted him out first in training camp.
I love that. I love that story, but I'm like, it's a difference between loving a story, getting behind the story, and being realistic in terms of your expectations, in terms of what you believe a person can be. I'm not saying that one day he might not grow into a franchise quarterback. I'm not saying that one day he might not be better than Mason. But as of today, can we please stop this? Because he didn't do anything that was so special from a number standpoint. Even during the game, I watched the game multiple times, and I'm like, maybe I missed something. Mm-hmm. Let me just look, and I'm like, no, it was exactly how I thought it was. Everything was dink and dunk to the back. James Conner makes somebody miss. James played great.
I mean, credit to him for making the throws.
True. But all I'm saying is when Mason did that, right, the narrative was drastically different. The narrative was they don't trust him. Why are they having him dink and dunk it? He's a franchise quarterback. They have a first round grade. Let him throw the ball downfield.
It's tough because I guess we're talking about this third person, this fan ideology.
And it's a lot.
Because, the Bengals game, he did that, and the offense was awesome. And we talked about
complained about it, though.
But we talked about, we're like, oh, this is kind of like a West Coast style. And, we could win with this. If Mason perfects this and then just starts working on the deep ball and opening up a little bit more, this is definitely doable. So I had a very similar mindset throughout that game, because as I'm watching, I'm like, he's playing pretty good, and the offense is fine. We're smoking them. It's 24-0. He's doing what he got to do. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, couldn't Mason be doing this exact same thing?
And I'll take it
and then the pick happened. I'm like, shit, man.
But for me, I'll take it a step further. The difference between Mason and Duck was Mason was throwing it to actual wide receivers on crossing routes, on outs. Duck, like you said, his leading receiver was James Conner, who would just throw
7 for like 70 yards.
Yes, literally, he was just throwing. I don't even call it check down, because it was like we call it glorified handoffs. That's what it was. So he takes the snap, 1,000, 1,002, and he's getting out to James Conner right now in the flat, letting James make a guy miss and get out in space. And like I said, it's a glorified toss play. It's a glorified sweep action, but without having to do the typical under center motion and everything like that, because you're tipping your hand with that. But that's all he was doing. Yeah. Even when you look at his numbers, the 132, I was like, we're counting the Deontay Johnson like quick shuffle pass that technically was a pass. Remember, like when they were in the Wildcat 2 games ago with Jalen Samuels doing that, and it's like technically he threw a pass, but that's not really a pass.
You came in, you're like, dude, did Jalen Samuel even throw the ball?
Right, I'm like, yo, that wasn't a throw. He wasn't throwing the ball. And they're like, oh yeah, but that's technically a pass. So even with his 132, I'm like, shoot, Deontay Johnson ran for what, 7-8 yards on that play. So it's not even 132.
Yeah.
It just drove me nuts, man. You could tell it was built up in me, because I don't like sounding like a hater, and I don't like when people call me a hater.
No, you're not.
But people, I was getting the, hey man, you being a hater because you're not believing in Duck the same way I got called a hater when they said I wasn't believing in Mason. All I'm saying is, man, we could believe in guys, we could support guys, we could want guys to be successful, which I do because it's great for us. And as a Steeler fan, I love it. As a Steeler alum, I love it. But man, we got to be realistic, man.
We want what's best for the team too.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think we both agree Mason's the guy. That's crazy, because I think we were texting about this yesterday, going back and forth about, Mason versus Duck. Like, what do you think? And we both said Mason. You're like, dude, that's not what everyone else is thinking here. I'm like, what? Like, how? I don't know how, based off what you watched, that you could say that this guy should be the guy going forward.
I'll tell you why. When the national media creates a narrative, if you have success, it gets legs. And it's no different than what we're seeing right now with James Conner and Juju, right? We love both of them. They're phenomenal players. But remember what the national narrative was this offseason. Oh, Juju he's actually up there with AB, maybe even better than AB. Look at his numbers. Oh, remember a year ago, James Conner. Hey, man, he's just as productive as L. Bell. He's actually probably better than L. Bell. You see now that they are without the talent around them. Those two players aren't on that scale. They're good players, don't get it wrong, but we're talking about AB, who is a generational talent, a top 5 receiver perennially. Like every year he's up there. L. Bell is another guy, generational talent, top 5 annually. But that wasn't the narrative. The narrative was, oh man, these guys are just as good. And now we're seeing firsthand that they're not. Similar situation right here with Duck, man. You hear the story about, oh man, he's a champion duck caller. Oh, you love that. And it's like, okay, that feels good. Oh, it comes from a small school. His Kazi played in front of 6,000 people. Oh, man, it feels good. And you're like, dang, his first start on the road versus future Hall of Famer potentially in Phillip Rivers. Oh, man, it feels good. Feels good, right? Everything feels good. And then you see him just dinking and dunking. Did you see how crazy the broadcast team went on Duck's first touchdown pass, which was literally a 3-yard out to James Conner. James makes a guy miss and runs the last 15 yards, walks in the end zone. But they're like, oh, look at Duck go. Look at him sling it. And you're like, look at him sling it. What? But that's the national narrative. And now we got a whole bye week in Miami week coming up. So that's all you're going to hear. Hey, man, Duck look good out there. Duck should be the guy. Duck did what he's supposed to do. He went on the road. Oh, this is what they say now. He was smart with the ball. He took what the defense gave him. I'm like, wow, when Mason did that, y'all say he game managing and this is, he needed to be slinging it downfield. But when Duck does it, it's, oh, man, he was smart with the ball. He took what the defense gave him. Smart guy. Drives me nuts, man. But that's the national, when you do it on prime time, the national narrative keeps saying it over and over and over. The people who don't watch the film, they buy into that. They say, hey, man, they said this Duck guy's the guy. He should be the franchise quarterback. And that's how it goes. That's how that starts. And that's what we got going on right now.
I don't think there's any shot it happens.
I personally don't either.
I know people were talking about it or want there to be, but
a lot of people.
There was nothing there that showed, hey, he should be the guy. And dude, we saw it. Or did you see my post yesterday with Ryan Clark?
I didn't. No.
Wait, you didn't see that?
I didn't.
He said something. So this would be interesting. I want to get your perspective on this because maybe I am walking back a little bit because maybe I should have appreciated Mason a little more. Uh-huh. But he said the 49ers are like an amazing team. And he said, I'm 100% certain.
Oh, I did see that if Mason was on that team, they would still be undefeated.
They'd still be undefeated, if not better, he said.
Because I personally do agree that Mason and Garoppolo is not that different.
No, we talked about it whenever we were previewing that game.
And I think the more Mason plays, the better he's going to get. Whereas with Garoppolo, I don't know how good he can truly get. I think it's a lot of hype surrounding him. And I think Ryan Clark agrees, and that's why Ryan gets paid the big bucks, and that's why we've grown over here. You know what I'm saying? Shout out
yeah, I mean, it's fun to talk about. I just don't know how it could be, honestly, at this point. I could see maybe this week if Mason's not cleared, but apparently he was cleared.
Well, and now
there was a report with that.
Yeah, but because it's the thing from an optic standpoint, people talk about how you watch MMA fighters, you watch boxers get knocked out. It happens. The difference is you don't see them go out there the next week and fight again or potentially get knocked out the next week. And that's the situation here. You saw Mason with his helmet on and no face mask. That is like the ultimate sign of, oh, you got jacked up. Mm-hmm. So you can't have that man back out there in a primetime game talking about he cleared a concussion protocol. We care about player health, and player safety. Like, no, that's a contradiction. So I personally, even going after the bye week playing against the Dolphins on Monday night, I still wouldn't put him back out there.
Wait, Mason?
I wouldn't. I would still, just because. Just think about this, for example, right? If Mason goes back out there and he gets knocked out on Monday, God forbid he gets knocked out, but if he gets knocked out, how would you feel?
How would I feel? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't think they have to do with anything. No.
See?
Do you?
Knowing that once you get a concussion, you're more prone to get another concussion the sooner you come back.
I didn't know that's that.
Yes, absolutely. And the more you get them, the more frequently. Like, okay, if you get one now, you're prone to get another one sooner. And then after that, it's more frequently, it's easier to happen.
But if they technically cleared him for this week, that'll be 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. Like I said, man. Who let's see. What boxer did we see recently get knocked out? Oh, UFC fighter. Jeez, I'm drawing a blank. But just imagine we see one of those guys get knocked out. It's cold like how Mason was. And then 2 weeks later, you got him in there fighting again. You can be like, yo, that's kind of crazy, right? You yourself would say it's kind of crazy.
I guess different sports in a way. Quarterback in the NFL versus MMA fighter.
Okay, quarterbacks get hit, do they not?
They do, but it's way more rare than what these, like, you're going in to get your head beat in. Whereas
so what you going in as a quarterback? You're not going in to get hit? Why they went home instead if they ain't going to get hit?
And not get your head beat in. Like, the first, how many games has Mason played this far? 3-4 games, 3, right?
And he's been hit in each game.
He's been hit, but in terms of a headshot, once or twice maybe, and one of them knocked him out. So,
jeez, he's shooting bad. Then
I'm just saying. If you're playing the numbers and the amount of times you're going to be getting hit like that as a quarterback, like if you're a receiver or especially running back or even on the line, linebackers too, like you're what's that phrasing? Cruising for a bruising or whatever.
Hey, man.
But a quarterback, how the rules are, it's less likely.
All right. Well, you know what? For his sake, I'm hoping that it doesn't happen again. And for the NFL's sake, and for the Steelers' sake, because once again, it's on prime time. So if something were to happen to him again on prime time, 2 weeks prior to him just being knocked out, you yourself will be up here talking crazy about this team. Nationally, people will be talking crazy about this team, and we already know the fans will go crazy about it. But you just said, "Oh, he's clear for 2 weeks, so it shouldn't matter."
That's what I'm thinking.
But you see the situation you're in. Right?
I see the situation you're in. Yeah. Yes, but I would like to think if I was in that situation, I would be, f like the publicity or the narrative, and I'm gonna do what's right. But
and what do you feel is right? Putting it back out there?
I mean, if he's all cleared to play, like 100%, like I don't see why it would be necessarily a wrong decision.
Okay,
let's just put it that way.
Hey, fair enough, man. Wait, time will tell. Time will tell.
Wait, what would you say?
I already told you. I would sit him for another week.
You would sit it, but it wouldn't be wrong to start if he's 100% cleared.
I think.
Are you playing more into the potential?
This is, I think,
if something does happen, then
I'm gonna explain. This is where we differ. Being clear to play does not mean you're 100% healthy, and I can tell you for a fact because for me, I dislocated my elbow. Right?
This is even with the new, especially with concussions.
Yes, with concussions, but being clear to play, like I said, I don't. First off, I give you a personal experience that I've dealt with injury, and I give you experience of a guy who directly dealt with a concussion in a similar situation, just to put you in context. So I've had a time where dislocated my elbow, right? Rookie year, sit out a game. It's a bye week after that, and technically I was cleared to play. But let me tell you what cleared meant. Oh, can you ball your fist up? Yeah. Can you hold a football? Sure. Could I bend my arm past 90 degrees? No. I cannot, like, God's honest, I cannot straighten my arm. And anytime I got touched, it would go numb. Like, full numb from shoulder to fingers. They taped me up, put a brace on. I went out there and played, 7 games like that? Arm would go numb after every hit. Even doing a warm-up, my arm would be numb. And they're like, oh, man, but you're cleared to play. You're cleared. You're cleared. So technically it means you're healthy, right? You're cleared to go. Even like I told you, I cannot bend my arm past 90 degrees. And as the season progressed, they would open up the brace a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then by the end of the season, I could almost have it straight, but it still was jacked up. But I was cleared to play.
Gotcha.
So that's just the one element of it, right? Now, to make it direct with the concussion element, I had a teammate here in Pittsburgh dealing with concussions. In and out of it. Knocked out this game. Hey, man, but he still stays in. All right, we take it home. He stays out. All right, cool. Gets to the point where it's going through the week. He's practicing throughout the week. I'm like, dude, you cleared yet? He's like, nah. I'm like, bro, how you feel? Bro, I feel messed up still. Like, I don't feel right. I'm like, okay. Saturday comes. Like, bro, how you straight? Like, you still in the protocol, huh? He's like, yeah, bro. It's no way I could pass, bro. I just felt this test like the third time. Like, God dang, bro. Sunday. I'm like, bro, why are you dressed? I passed the test. I say, bro, how the heck did you do that? I don't know. And he went out there and played. I promise you. And he was cleared. And for me, that's why I was like, yep. I'm sitting down for another week, bro. I'm just saying, bro. Like I said, I'm not going to name his name, but for a fact, and that wasn't the only person that happened to. That wasn't the only occasion that happened.
That's interesting, man.
But that's what I always say. It's different. Like, as a player, I'm like, bro, for a fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just coming from a naive perspective, I guess.
That's
where
what
it's
I'm
like
saying,
if you're cleared, like you should be good, especially with all the new concussion shit.
Because they say cleared. I'm just saying, like, cleared and being healthy are different, bro.
Okay, with you saying that, I think then we're on the same page. You want Mason to be healthy and to not.
But you're saying if he's cleared, the consensus now is going to be that he's healthy,
right?
When he's not.
Well, that's so. Now you told me that, and so I don't know what to do with that. Then I guess we just don't know for sure.
Hey, man, I'm just like I said. I just hope that everything is good with my man when he comes back.
There,
I'm just leaving it at that, man.
We're both on that same mindset, and at the end of the day, if it's between Mason and Duck, both fully healthy, we're both going Mason then.
Hey, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking twice about it.
No, me neither. So what do we got next?
Man, but we got to talk about the running game, right? James Conner, Benny Snell.
Bring that up, yeah.
Now, when we talk about position battles, I'm not ready to say it's a running back competition yet. But Benny Snell looked really good.
He did. And
like, when you look at their numbers, man, Benny rushed for more. He led the team in rushing. I think it was 14 carries. He had 17 carries, 75 yards, 4.4 per tote. Whereas James Conner on the ground, 16 carries, 41 yards, 2.6. But I will tell you that when James got banged up a little bit, the first hit with Thomas Davis, where he like landed on him and everything, he didn't run the same after that. And then obviously he goes out, I think it was correlated with the thigh bruise and everything like that. But in terms of just pure running backs in that game, Benny looked far more effective. Now, James had the better game overall, over 100.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah, over 100 total offense, 7 catches, 78 yards. Like I said, led the team in receiving in that element. But in terms of just hitting the hole, running through guys, just looking more explosive, Benny Snell definitely flashed. And for me, that's what I'm just saying. Like, all right, let's see how this continues, man. Especially with Jalen Samuels being out.
Yeah, what happened from preseason now,
bro? I don't know, because Benny didn't look nothing like this. Remember, we were talking about, man, Trey Edmonds should be the guy over him. But I don't know if Benny, man, he went and had one of those.
Because like he looked slow up against preseason defenses, like second and third stringers,
and now he's looking like explosive, twitchy. Yeah, like I don't know what's going on with him, man. Maybe he's eating at the right places now. Who knows?
So here's the thing, to your point. This is James Conner's stats for the whole season. Running the ball. Obviously, he's been a factor catching the ball way more.
Yes.
235 rush yards, 3.2 yards per carry. What do we make of that? Because I know you said whenever he got injured, he didn't look the same.
Yeah.
But whenever Snell was running the ball, I don't know if you can attest to this, if I'm accurate with this, but that was in the point of the game where all we're looking to do is run and chew the clock. So defense is expecting it way more, and he was able to do what he did, and it was
absolutely,
be productive. Yeah,
like I said, for a fact, Benny was the better runner in that game, but James Conner, like I said, you cannot, if you take away James Conner's performance, this team doesn't win. James, like I said, he might not have did it on the ground, but in terms of catching the ball at the backfield, making guys miss, he was phenomenal in that element. I'm just not really sure what is the issue with James this year compared to last year, because last year, now, like I said, he was facing lighter boxes in terms of AB drawing 2 guys, Juju drawing his attention, and him being in a more advantageous situation running in between the tackles. Whereas this year, I know that's not the situation, but I think see Benny Snell face those same looks. Like, I mean, it was times where they're in 12 and 13 personnel, and literally it's 9 guys in the box, safety, and just a corner just chilling, and he's still running through there.
Well, here's the problem then. Is Benny Snell the pass catcher that James Conner is?
Right. That's the thing, man. But my question is this. For the passes that they were asking James Conner to catch, it's not like James is running Le'Veon-type routes. James was literally just flaring out the backfield or just checking up right over the ball, and Duck was dropping it to him. So for that, can Benny do that? That's the question. We haven't seen it yet, but I don't think that it's too far-fetched to ask him to do that.
Yeah, if he keeps doing it, and I want to give Conner the benefit of the doubt, like from the start of the season, it hasn't really seemed like he's been right. So he might be dealing with something, but at the end of the day, you got to put your best performance out there for the team.
Cleared. They say he's healthy. I mean, I know I was out there at OTAs every day because I was doing Steel Nation Radio. And he was hardly ever practicing. They would like have him do like some of the.
This has been
but that was
the start.
And that's why a lot of us like who were down there, like the journalists and stuff, were asking like, hey, is he healthy? And they were like, oh, he's good. But they said that he had a large workload, obviously the last season. So they're just dialing it back for him. So he hardly did any of the OTA practices. You would see him just catching the ball, doing some of the individual like drill work, but no team stuff. Gets to training camp. Remember for. Out of all their training camp practice, he might have got tackled once or twice in practice, and that was during a goal line period at Heinz Field. Doesn't play any of the preseason games except the Tennessee Titans one. And then from there, it's just like, all right, season. But they kept saying he was healthy. So for me, I'm just like, it wasn't adding up, especially like from my personal experience of being out there with Le'Veon and seeing how he would take the reps. He was still getting tackled and stuff like that during practice. Granted that when they franchised him that 1 year, he didn't show up. But other than that, he was out there practicing.
That was coming off some big work.
Absolutely. So for me, that's what I was kind of like, I'm not really buying that 100% just because I've seen it with Le'Veon, who had a higher workload, come out there and practice all the time, get hit all the time, be fine. But they're saying he's healthy. But we can both agree, and a lot of people agree, that he just doesn't look right. He doesn't look like his self right now.
Right. The good thing is, I mean, especially with just how the Steelers season's playing out with all these injuries, we got someone in Benny Snell that I think we could rely on.
Absolutely. Well, and the thing too, so like I said, James did sustain a thigh, he says it's thigh injury or whatever, but with the bye week, they said he should be good to go come Monday night. So it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, how that plays out. And if Benny Snell can continue to flash, because he's looked night and day from the regular season to the preseason.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Crazy.
So do you want to touch on your area of expertise
You
here?
know we going defense. I was trying to be nice with everybody. I was like, let's go and get the quarterback discussion out the way.
Deke's chomping at the bit.
I was like, James, my dog. I got to go ahead. We got to talk about James, get him out the way. Now it's starting because of the dark side, baby. And particularly my boy, Devin Bush, the 5'5". He was on the podcast last week. I know y'all loved it. I could tell by the reviews.
Coincidence or no?
No, man. If you come on the podcast, you're going to have success. Dangerfield out here making big time tackles on special teams. Two been balling out. Granted, he got hurt. He's done for the season with the pec injury. But up until that point, he was having his best season ever.
Right.
Saying you come on the podcast, man.
I feel like Terrell Edmonds has been playing better.
He has been, yeah. That's all I'm saying, man. Come on the podcast, bro. So they're gonna do. It's gonna do great things for you. Devin Bush comes on the podcast, and what does he do in his first 10 plays? Oh, just a fumble return for a touchdown, interception. You know, led the team in tackles, balled out completely. That's all I'm saying, man. He looked awesome.
Yeah, I think this podcast got something to it.
We're cooking, bro. We're cooking.
But yeah, I think there was a lot of good things on the defense. Obviously, Devin Bush just killed it. Here's the thing I will say, though, with him. I mean, you had to have noticed it, too. Yeah. After the first half, there were some missed tackles and some little lapses in coverage. But overall, he made the splash plays, as we like to say, that Coach Tomlin likes to say.
Absolutely.
That impacted the game.
Oh, yeah. And to touch on the tackles, I tell people this, too, man. You play this game long enough, you're going to miss tackles. Luke Kuechly has been a perennial AP All-Pro. Just could be between him and Bob Wagner as the best inside linebackers, right? Just watching the game on Sunday versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it wasn't even the main runner. It was like their backup running back comes in on the goal line, makes Luke Kuechly miss. Like, it happens. So the thing that I was impressed with the most, though, with Devin was even when he would miss some of those tackles, he was still either getting back in on the tackle later on or going into the next play and making a play. And that's the thing you want to see with young guys, because everyone misses, man. At this level, man, just because a guy's in like a known name doesn't mean that he's a bum. Yeah. Like at this level, everybody's the best of the best, man.
And that's just nitpicking too, because the timing of the play set us up to have control of the game.
True.
And then I think overall he played like a really, solid game. And I guess this is just from the standpoint, if we're looking at him as a future Pro Bowler, defensive Rookie of the Year, then that's all really.
Well, I think, man, even all those things considered, he still should be Defensive Player of the Week.
I think right now, I know we just did those quarter awards, but I think the tables have turned a little
absolutely,
bit.
Yeah. But I think also that people saw how good Nick Bosa is as well. Because when I put him up there as my candidate, people look at me like, oh, straight, like, you going to have Nick Bosa? Like, what? Are you crazy? And then he goes out there and just destroys guys on prime time. They're like, yo, this Nick Bosa guy's good. I'm like, oh, you don't say. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Like, ball, man. But Devin definitely stepped up in a big way. And Devin has a couple things going for him in terms of getting in that race for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Number one, he plays in a ton of primetime games. So what that means is a lot of times journalists who cover other teams don't watch the Sunday 1 o'clock games. They don't have a chance to. But
everyone's
watching primetime games. And if a cat's making plays in primetime, now you want to look into him more. Now you're more intrigued about him versus just reading the stat line saying, oh, okay, 6 tackles. Oh, he had an interception. All right, that's pretty cool. But when you're seeing it in primetime, you're like, oh, that was impactful. That was splash. So that's the first thing he has going for him, the fact he's in prime time. Secondly, the position he plays, he's going to have volume numbers in terms of his tackles. As a linebacker that plays all three downs, you're going to accumulate a ton of tackles just by being out there. So when you look at his numbers, that's going to help him out a ton as well. But then the thing that really is taking it for him is the turnovers. He's directly responsible for 6 of the team's 15 turnovers, 4 fumble recoveries, 2 interceptions, and he has a touchdown. Like, that's the part that just jumps off. Like, when we talk about Shaq Barrett down in Tampa with 9 sacks, you're looking like, okay, that jumps off the screen. That's crazy. Him having 6 turnovers and you're not even at the midway point of the season is crazy.
Yeah, to go along with the tackles.
Right, absolutely.
And here's something that was crazy. I think I saw an article, but I even noticed this in the highlights whenever we drafted Bush. He never had any like turnovers.
No, he didn't. Even his last year in Michigan, I think he had like 1 interception or something like that.
And then for it just to like pop like this on the Steelers his first year is pretty nuts.
Yeah. Well, I tell people too this, man, when it comes to turnovers, forcing turnovers are hard.
I'm sure.
And sometimes it's more like just right place, right time. Like, because you look at someone like the fumble. Like, for him, he's obviously doing a great job in his coverage, keying his guy in Melvin Gordon. And that took him to where it was supposed to be. But then the ball bounced in there. Vince Williams just runs by it. I think Cam was over there as well, runs by it. And he just happens to scoop it up and just make a guy miss in the end zone. Like, that's...
Same, I guess even same with the pick. It's tipped in.
And he's just like right there. It's perfect. And then I'm like, if he doesn't get it, Artie Burns is breaking on the ball as well. So for me, I'm just like, sometimes, man, when it's your time, it's your time. Like,
he saved
everything's
them up,
aligning.
He saved them up from college for us.
Everything's aligning perfectly. Like, that's just how it goes. And you'll see it, like, some guys that have like those crazy years where everything's just going their way. The ball is bouncing their way. And then sometimes you're like, yo, I'm always a second behind, or, oh, I just can't get it, you know? So that's the thing that I'm just loving. But the thing is, he's capitalizing on them. He's not letting those opportunities go away. He's not dropping interceptions. He's not, oh, he should have scooped it up, but he missed it. Like, he's making the plays he's supposed to make, and that's the most promising thing about him.
No, absolutely. Now, do you want to get into the cornerbacks?
Yeah, man. Well, I was going to say, I want to talk about my boy Bud Dupree, man, and TJ Watt, all my guys up front, man. Cam Hayward, like I said, Tua got hurt, but all those boys up front were balling.
Yeah.
They were doing, I love seeing the pass rushers get after it, man. They got out to Phillip Rivers, had him looking majorly uncomfortable.
No run game either.
Night, man. Absolutely. And just the scheme in which they implemented versus them, it was a simple, hey, our D-line is better than your O-line. We're not going to blitz you. We're going to let these guys get after you. And they did it from start to finish, and it was beautiful. Even when Tua went out, like Javon Hargrave, Big Dan McCullers, they both came in there, played at a high level. Tyson Alualu, shout out that 2010 draft class, only the best ever. But yeah, man, balled out. All those guys.
No, they did. Man. They did kind of what we talked about, getting pressure on him and limiting the run game. They couldn't get anything going. What do you think of the impact with Tua being out? Do you think we'll be able to patch that up and be all right, or you think it's going to be a major loss?
I mean, it hurts because Tua
it definitely hurts.
Everything.
That's like a given, right?
Tua can do everything by himself. He can play the run. He can rush the passer. With him out, now you have to use a division of labor in terms of, okay, Javon Hargrave can stop the run, but he also can get out to the passer. But he's a little undersized. Big Dan is great against the run, so use him in that. Tyson Alualu can rush the passer a little bit better. So it's like you have to use a mix of those 3 guys, whereas with Tua, it's like, oh man, still just leave him out there. But will you feel the impact? Yes. Will it be as crazy as people might think? I think not, because you still have Cam Hayward in there. You still have Bud Dupree who's playing at a high level and TJ Watt who's playing at a high level. And when you look at their numbers, all those guys I just named in between Bud, TJ, and Cam, 4 sacks, 3.5 sacks, 3 sacks. So they're getting after the quarterback, but they're also doing numbers in the run game, man. They're stuffing the run. And that's why I think, like, even losing to it is still not going to kill you. So I'm excited though, man.
No, I
like my guys up front, man. They doing their thing.
No, I definitely am. I couldn't believe whenever you sent that screenshot to me of him being out. It really did.
When they said pec, because obviously I tore my pec before, I was like, hopefully it's just a strain. But anytime you come out from a pec and you don't go back in, it's either torn or torn off the bone. It's like, the difference is if you just tear it, which I did, you still are going to be out for some months, but you don't have to have surgery. If you turn off the bone completely, now you got to have surgery, and that's ultimately what he did. So, sucks.
It does suck because the defense is the thing we're banking on right now.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of change at offense, but to to lose. I mean, we talked about this before, probably in the top 2 or 3 for Steeler defense, or not even defense, MVP discussion, maybe.
Like, he was balling out, man. Definitely was on an all-pro trajectory this season, and it sucks because this is one of the first years where he was actually healthy for this long, and to see him go down, man, it sucks. But in the words of Coach Cowher, man, you gotta adjust and adapt, you know. So gonna see this was the new wave going forward, man. But yeah, man, it's a ton of talent and depth in that room, so I think they'll be fine.
I think so too. Yeah. Now on to the corners.
Absolutely, man. So let me hear you first before I give you mine.
What do you mean?
Go ahead. I want to hear talk about
my
your corners.
take.
Yeah.
Oh, Artie Burns. He's well. Remember I showed you that picture, the next Ike Taylor.
Yeah.
Where Ike had a good first year or two with us, and then he just had a year where it was just he was benched. No one knew what the heck was going on.
Yeah.
Came back and he was shut down corner for a good 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
Covered the top corner. Could we be seeing a resurgence with Artie Burns here?
Okay, I'm glad you said that.
You didn't hear from him at all throughout the whole game. That's a good thing, especially if you're corner. The only play was that Hunter Henry touchdown, but that was still pretty good coverage and a hell of a catch. So I'm not gonna really hold that against him. But Coach Tomlin shouted him out, and I mean, like I said, you didn't hear from him. I'm not able to watch it perfectly and see, oh wow, this guy's playing amazing cornerback. But if you're not hearing from him, something good is happening. So
I'm glad that was your take. I was a little nervous for a second because once again, that's when they get a narrative going about a player, they like to keep it going. They're like, Artie Burns sucks, man. I can't believe they got Artie on this field. Like, oh man, we're gonna lose. And I'm like, anybody that said that did not watch the game. They didn't watch the film. You watched the film. Artie was balling. Yeah. He was locked up with Mike Williams the majority of the game, had some action with Keenan Allen. And he was only targeted, I think, directly targeted. It was 2 or 3 times. And the 2 catches they gave up, he had the one versus Mike Williams where Mike runs it was like a 10-yard in. Great play by Mike. He had outside leverage. Mike beats him across his face. Gets that. I was like, okay, cool. The second one, the touchdown with Hunter Henry, that's one of those where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And here's why. So they were in a man coverage versus a bunch set. And what happens with that, when you run it's called like a star concept, right? You have one guy sit low, so the linebacker takes him. One guy burst out. So I think it was Mike Hilton, I believe was who took him. Artie's the top guy, and he has to play outside in and high to low. So Hunter, when you're running this route, you see, okay, it's a leverage beater. If Artie's sitting outside, you turn in, ball's there. Phillip Rivers puts it on the money. If Artie's playing inside to take that, then he turns out, ball there, you're stuck. You saw Terrell Edmonds coming over late because you have late help inside, but it's late in terms of, hey, it's going to be 3 or 4 seconds because Edmonds got to show to that other side. So just looking at that call, I'm like, yeah, that was on Artie, but shoot, I don't care who it could be Joe Hay, it could be Jalen Ramsey, it could be Deion Sanders. You're not making that play because if you jump that play, all they're going to do is hit you the other way. It's just one of those man beaters. Hey, whatever you're in, I'm going opposite of you. So that's why I looked at that. But Artie, man, he was locked down, man. He was playing a phenomenal game. Like I said, barely was targeted, and he was actually involved in the run game, which is always my biggest concern with Artie. I'm like, the coverage aspect, I'm like, yeah, that's all your confidence. You're in your own head with that. Once you get out your head, you're fine. But we always had issues in terms of, all right, don't be late to the party in the run game. If we're over here and they're trying to bubble it out to the corner, you show up, put your face in there. And he was doing that. And that's the thing I like the most about him. But yeah, man, I definitely thought that he played at a great level. Like I said, watch it again just to follow him. I want to see every snap he had because I'm like, yo, this can't be real. The way people are talking about him and Coach Tomlin gives him the game ball. It doesn't add up. So let me just look at every snap he played in and just to make sure I ain't tripping. And yeah, man, phenomenal job.
No, him and then also Cam Sutton.
Yeah, Cam came in a big way, man.
This is becoming a good problem to have, especially with Steven Nelson being out and these 2 dudes stepping up.
Yeah. Well, even when Joe Hayden went
Joe
down
Hayden's hurt
game,
too. Yeah. So, dude, if we have those 6 corners, I like our chance. I'm liking this defense. I just really am. It's
hey, welcome to the party, man. Welcome to the party.
There's everything to like about this defense right now, other than 2 getting hurt. But yeah. If we could patch that up and where it's not a glaring.
Well, my thing is, this defense has had a ton of injuries. They've had a ton of transition. You got to remember, Mark Barron, who's played 90% of their defensive snaps, didn't even play because of hamstring injury.
Right.
Vince Williams, who's missed the first couple of games, has been kind of rotating in and out, had to play the majority of the games.
What's good having this depth
then. Yeah, absolutely. Like across the board. And that's the thing. For me, when I watch them, I'm just like, it doesn't matter who you put out there. All those guys are able to play at a high level. And even though the coaches don't get the credit they deserve, once again, they're putting them in positions that benefit them, that are going to make them their best self. They understand, okay, instead of having Cameron Kelly sitting in the post, like how they had him in week 1, they're using him as their like dime linebacker type to cover some of these tight ends and use his athletic ability to his advantage. We're seeing that. Using Minka, keeping him up high, but he was still playing a lot high to low on Keenan Allen. Like seeing that type of stuff where when you just looking at it from the TV, you're like, oh, it doesn't really look like much. But then when you're watching from a schematic standpoint, you're saying, oh, I like how y'all are doing this versus him. And you minimize him. Keenan had, 2 catches? Like he was pretty much irrelevant the whole game. And just saying, okay, we'll let the tight end get the better matchup here, but the tight end's not going to beat us. That's the thing I like, man. This defense looks good. The coach staff are actually doing their job, man, balling out with that. And Randy Fichtner on the offense, man. He understood, hey, I got a young quarterback on the road. In the words of Coach Tom, let's minimize his exposure. Because, like I said, a lot of people didn't want to minimize his exposure. But the coaches understood, hey, this is what we need to do, all right? Let's not trip. All right? Run the ball.
Well, here's the thing too. If you look at just the AFC in general right now, Kansas City losing some
back-to-back games. Oh, shout out to Kansas City losing too, man. Somebody's gonna be pushing a car, and it's not me, my friend.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work that out this week. A couple of these bets, maybe we could save the pushing.
You might push my car to go get something to eat. And you pay for the dinner.
We could do something like that. Maybe. That'll kill 2 birds with one stone.
Absolutely. I want you like dressed nicely though, and I want you to get a nice sweat going. Yeah.
Okay, we could talk. But Kansas City losing. I think Baltimore's trash. Patriots are 6-0, but like, here's the thing. We need Mason to step up. Is what needs to happen. If he could become this better version of Jimmy G, I really like our chances here with this defense.
I just want Mason to be Mason. Don't be Jimmy G Mason.
A better version.
Just be Mason. Please just be Mason. Don't be Jimmy. I'm not a Jimmy guy, man. Not a Jimmy guy.
They're 6-0. So.
Oh yeah, New England's doing their thing.
No. I'm saying they're 5-0. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, and San Fran's defense is 5-0.
Right. So that's what I mean.
San Fran's defense is 5-0. And Matthew Breda is 5-0.
So you're saying Mason's already playing better than Jimmy G?
I'm not saying that because I haven't seen enough of Mason. I'm not about to jump on that train. I'm just saying I'm not a Jimmy G believer. Like the same way I told people to relax on Mason, they need to do that with Jimmy G. But instead, what they do, they give him $100 million and say, "Oh yeah, you're the guy." I'm just like, "Woo!" And that's just. But hey, they're doing things that they need to do out there to win. But I'm fully confident if we were to see them again, that we could get the job done.
I think so too. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude. So you think we covered everything here?
Man, I think we did, man. We talked about Steeler Nation. Talked about the quarterbacks, the running backs, the defense, young Devin Bush. Shout out to my dog, Artie Burns. Yeah, man.
The awesome interview coming up with Cowher.
Absolutely.
Hope you guys enjoy.
Cowher. Coach Cowher, baby.
And stay tuned for bet videos this week.
Absolutely, man.
Or this weekend, next week, I guess.
Because we got 2 weeks, essentially.
Yeah, we got the time off.
Yeah,
and we'll figure it out.
Time to pay up. I didn't pay my bet. I drank some hot sauce. It wasn't nice. I didn't like it at all. But somebody's going to be pushing a car. So, appreciate y'all for tuning in. And until next time, baby.
Peace.
Today on the podcast, we have a very special guest, not only from a national level, but right here in Pittsburgh, Super Bowl champion, Coach of the Year, CBS analyst, Coach Bill Cowher. Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Arthur. How are you and Deke doing?
Man, we're doing well. Definitely appreciate you hopping on with us, man. So just to hop right into it, during your tenure here and there as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you had a ton of success, both on the field as a head coach, but then individually as well. So just talk about how you handled the expectations of being the head coach for one of the most storied franchises in NFL history.
Arthur, I think that, just make no mistake, Pittsburgh is definitely a football town, and certainly from the days of the 70s with what Chuck Noll and his group of players were able to do to kind of like set the standard, so to speak. And, with that, though, also, I think comes a great positive thing from the standpoint of you got very passionate fans. And so I think from that standpoint, it's a tremendous fan base. Having grown up there in Pittsburgh, I understand the history of, what the Pittsburgh Steelers stand for, the revitalization of that city back in the 70s during the steel mill times. So it's a situation, I think, when you walk in there, I think expectations are to have them high is really what you want to be the standard every year for every team. And I think with that, though, I think navigating your way through the season, as Coach Tomlin is having to do right now, do a lot of different things get thrown at you, challenges wise. But being a player in the National Football League, I've always said before, it's about adapting and adjusting. Adapt and adjust. Whatever you are dealt from an injury standpoint, from a production standpoint, adjusting your systems accordingly and being able to navigate your way through that is really what these next couple months are about. I think I always said that I broke down a season really into 3 parts. I think you have the first 4 weeks where you're trying to find out exactly who you are, what the identity of your team is. I said the next 8 weeks is navigating your way through, understanding what those strengths are, to utilize those strengths and to mask your limitations when you have them. And the last 4 weeks is basically, trying to play your best football. And I think so. It's kind of fun this time of year to watch that take place throughout the league.
Absolutely. And something that you hit on in terms of adapting and adjusting, when we look back at your Super Bowl 40 run, just talk about throughout that season and throughout the playoffs, how you had to do some of those things.
Yeah, we really did. I mean, I think, we got involved in a 3-game losing streak right in that middle. As let's talk about the navigating of where you are. And, I've always said before, sometimes losing is not a bad thing, because I think sometimes you can get too comfortable. You get complacent with who you are. And I think when you look at that year, we had lost at home to the Cincinnati Bengals, and we all remember that picture of T.J. Houshmandzadeh taking terrible wiping his feet with them. And I think, that at this time we had 4 weeks left to go. It's like, let's just take this one game at a time. We were basically getting in playoff mode. And I think what we did is created an edge for ourselves, kind of backed ourselves into a corner. And, I think each one of us took our level of play to another level. We did that collectively. And I think we went into the playoffs and went on that run on the road. It didn't matter where we were going. We had an edginess about us and how we played, a sense of purpose, a sense of urgency that really started that last month of the season. So, you come in there with high expectations, as we did in that year of 2005 after, Ben was in the AFC Championship game and everyone picked us next year to go there. And all of a sudden you find yourself, in the middle of the season as everyone's counting you out because, all of a sudden, they were just a run. They're not going to make it. And then when we got into the playoffs as a 6th seed, no 6 seeds ever even been to a championship game, let alone go to a Super Bowl. So a lot of things they were saying that we couldn't do kind of fueled us to find the way, don't let history dictate our future, but let our future make history. And we were able to do that.
I like that. Okay. Now, throughout your storied coaching career, a lot of your assistants went on to be head coaches, whether it was Bruce Arians, Chan Gailey, who was actually my head coach in Buffalo, my first year in the NFL, Dick LeBeau, Marvin Lewis, to name a few. So, man, just talk about what does that mean to you seeing so many of your assistants go on to have success as head coaches?
Well, it means a lot. I mean, certainly I think what it is, it's a reflection of the organization, a reflection of, the way we did things, that people viewed these guys as trying to bring that same culture to their teams. And certainly I think it's, every football team, the dynamic is different, and try to understand what that dynamic is in each building is really the first objective, I think, of any head coach, and being respectful of that dynamic, whoever that may be, whether it be the GM, the owner, understanding what you're walking into from the standpoint of what they're looking for, each team. And I think the assistants we had, as you mentioned, and they were great teachers. They were good leaders. I think a lot of times as a head coach, the one thing you have to be able to do is delegate. And I think when you start to delegate, you start to find out who the people are that can kind of take and be in the forefront of issues, and that they take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and they're able to be leaders, are able to stand up in front and talk about the issues that are at hand, and making some of the tough decisions. And so, I think, again, the more you can delegate to people, the more you find out who they are and how much they can handle. And as each step, the more you give them, the more they're able to handle it. Then you keep giving them more and more. And certainly what they do is just display themselves as good potential head coaches.
Hey, Coach Deke here. You talk about leadership. It seems throughout the course of your coaching career, some of the players have talked about this in interviews, that you would give life lessons as you were coaching. And then also from interviews that you've done, it seems that you're very thoughtful and have some type of like self-development past. Is that true? And if that's the case, like where does that come from? Your, I guess, urge to grow like mentally.
That's a good question, Deke. And I would like to think that is the case. I think, I always said I had 3 daughters at home and I got 53 boys at work. And so they were my kids. Sometimes I told them what they needed to hear, not what they wanted to hear. It's tough love, just like you do with your kids sometimes. That doesn't mean I didn't care for them or love them, but you know what? I was going to hold them accountable. And, and in the process of doing that, you do teach life lessons. And I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I said my father, he taught me 3 things. He said, you have to never quit anything you start. And I just remember him being in Pittsburgh, no matter what happened, that was it. If you get knocked down, get back up. And second thing is work harder than the other person. Your work ethic was everything. Preparation to me is huge. I think, Sundays I would like to think was going to be easier than Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday if you were playing for me. You were looking forward to Sundays because now we'll just have fun. Whatever happens, it's going to happen. But it's not going to be fun Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And because it's about preparation, it's about putting yourself in all those different scenarios and making yourself mentally tough and to be able to stay focused, to be able to stay disciplined, to be able to make the right decisions and having this awareness about where you are on the field, what the situation is in the game, what time of the game. So all those things you're preparing them for on Sunday, but on Sunday I want you to have a swagger. I want you to go out there and have fun, not worry about making mistakes, play loose, play free, play confident, play fast. And the third thing I learned from my father was, truthfully, was never be intimidated by anyone or anything. Self-confidence. And I just think that that's something that we all had to have. And our players had it. And my job, I thought at times, I wanted them to walk the line. And if you cross the line of being disrespectful, whether it be to a team, to the game, to a teammate, my job was to pull you back. And so I wanted you to have that swagger, but I also wanted you to have that respect. But I wanted you to have that confidence to feel like, I'm the best player on the field, and we got 53 of the best players in the league playing every Sunday.
Are you a reader at all? Do you have a favorite book or some type of tool that you use?
Actually, one of the books I used to read, it's funny you should ask that question. It's not a question I get asked a lot, but I used to read Norman Vincent Peale. And if you think enthusiasm makes a difference, the power of positive thinking, at times he took scripture and backed it up. I never brought religion into it, but I just thought your mind is powerful. And I think your ability to create a mental toughness, physical toughness, you're gonna get the right guys. You're gonna surround yourself with the right people. But I wanted mentally tough people. I wanted people that, you aren't going to be defined how many times you get knocked down. You're going to be defined how many times you continue to get back up. And can you stay focused in the fourth quarter? Can you stay disciplined in the fourth quarter? Can you channel your emotions in a manner with which it's not going to be selfish? It's going to be more collectively thinking in terms of making sure that I put the team ahead of me. These are the things that, to me, it goes back to the mind. And I thought Norman Vincent Peale was a great author of some of the books that really talked about your mental approach to life.
Man, I agree 100% with that, man. In terms of the power of the mind, I could say just throughout my career, same thing, overcoming obstacles, but the mental fortitude is what really got me there. So I definitely like that right there. Now,
absolutely.
Now, you were recently inducted into the Steelers Hall of Honor, and I know you are loved big time here in Pittsburgh, man. So just talk about what it felt like to receive that honor and what it felt like being back at Heinz Field in front of Steeler Nation.
Yeah, it was really special. I mean, honestly, certainly growing up there, I lived 3 miles from where Heinz Field is now, just on the other side of the incline hill there in Grafton, Pennsylvania. And so I do remember the 70s. I remember when they were at Pitt Stadium, and I remember when all of a sudden they moved into Three Rivers and how special that was. But then how special the 70s were, and all of a sudden to be inducted into the Hall of Honor and look out there and to see Franco Harris and to see Joe Green, and these were childhood idols of mine. And when I had a chance to come back to Pittsburgh and at the age of 34, and I tell the story all the time. When I first got the job, I was in Kansas City as a coordinator. And when they gave me the job, I remember going back to Kansas City, laying in bed that very first night, and I said, wow, in 3 years, if I don't get fired, I can go back to my 20th high school class reunion as a head coach of my hometown team. So I said, my first goal was just don't screw this up in 3 years. But I said, it meant so much, because I said just being from there and to be able to go back there and to hear the people, and, for the Steelers to bring out my high school band to kind of play before the game started, that was just so unique, so special. And then just like I said, I may not, you take the people out of Pittsburgh, you won't ever take the Pittsburgh out of people. And I will always bleed black and gold. And that's a place. And like I said before, I was blessed to be there for 15 years, and we did a lot of special things. And at the same time, it's just, it almost felt like a responsibility that you had. And it was a real honor to be able to hand Mr. Rooney that fifth one. And like I said, I have great memories, great relationships still to this day because of my time in Pittsburgh.
Did you go back to that high school reunion?
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, we did. How about this? We went back. That was a year we ended up going to the Super Bowl. That was 95. Wow. So it was 95. So that year we did the Gateway Clipper thing, down the rivers that summer. And that following year was the 95 season that we ended up went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Cowboys in the Super Bowl of 96.
Wow. I like it.
Yeah, you were probably the man then, huh?
Yeah. Hey, but how about the fact we're on a Gateway Clipper? I mean, we're running out of boat. Wow. Only my high school would do that.
Hey, the Gateway Clipper is
because of the high school. We figured, you know what? The only way we'll keep everyone together is put them on a boat. That way you can't get off.
Hey, the Gateway Clipper still going strong here in Pittsburgh too.
Absolutely.
I like it. So, throughout your coaching career, was there ever a time where you doubted your ability?
Well, I don't think you doubt your ability, but you start to doubt, are you doing the right thing? I think you're always going to question yourself. I think the first thing you got to do if you're a good leader is look in the mirror. Am I doing the right thing with what I'm doing? I'll go back to a game we played against Warren Moon, and I was the coordinator with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I said, you know what? I got Albert Lewis. I got Kevin Ross. I got J.C. Pearson. I got Sidney Johnson. I'm going to match up against those four guys. Okay, Haywood Jeffries, Duncan, Givens. And I said, I'm going to blitz Warren Moon. We're going to blitz him come off the corner with Derek Thomas and Chris Martin. Well, we blitzed him the whole game. And I was so stubborn I wouldn't adjust. Warren Moon threw for 520-some yards.
Oh, man.
I said, we hit him a bunch. But he kept completing pass after pass after pass. And I'll never forget that game because I walked away from that game. I says, Bill, you were too stubborn. You were too stubborn in your thoughts. You need to be more flexible in your thinking. And I learned from that. And Marty Schottenheimer, just, and he was one of my great mentors that I had. And he, to me, is a guy, I'm a reflection of him. But he pulled me aside and just says, listen, you're an aggressive coach. And Tony Dungy was up in the booth at the time saying, I think we should play some zone. I go, nope, I'm blitzing them. And so, Tony was like my voice of reason in the booth. And I was on the sideline. And Marty was our head coach. So I was been very blessed to be around some really good people that, and Arthur, you've played this game. Sometimes things you don't probably appreciate it at the moment. But the more you get away or go into a different situation, you kind of reflect back and you realize you've learned some things from certain people because it's stuck in your head because you probably knew it was right, but your confidence and that I probably / stubbornness, whatever that may be, it didn't really resonate. So I just think the older you get, the more you're able to take some of the wisdom you've learned from other people and to apply it to your scenario whenever it's applicable.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think about some of the stuff that I was told my rookie year from some of the veterans I played with. And at the time, you're hard-headed. Oh, man, y'all guys don't know what you're talking about. Y'all are old. And then me being in year 8, year 9, laughing to myself like, yeah, those guys were right.
Yeah, you say, man, I'm sounding like those guys. Yeah.
Man, but that's the thing, right? You live and you learn. And ultimately, you do always have to humble yourself. So I definitely could agree with that. Now, my last question for you is this. you had obviously a ton of success, right? As a coach, winning the Super Bowl, and then you also won the AP NFL Coach of the Year. So if you had to rank those two, which one do you hold higher and why?
Well, certainly, I think I look at a Super Bowl much more than any individual accolade. I mean, that's to me, football is the ultimate team sport. You talk about how many people have to work in sync together, overcome so much together. I mean, you're with your football team more than you're with your family during the course of a season.
Oh, without a doubt.
And you know what? It is like being a family because you're dealing with the emotional highs and lows that go with the game. And one of the things I told players, and they still quote me on it. I said, I'll just say this about the game of football. In the course of a season of going through 16, 17 weeks and see where it takes you, you're never as good as you think you are. Don't take yourself too serious when you start having success. You're never as bad as they say you are. Don't beat yourself up. So just stay in the moment. Don't ride the emotional highs and lows. You can control what you can control. And I think if you kind of go that way, when it's all said and done, then you'll have a chance to reflect back. So, because, sometimes you beat yourself up too much after a bad game. And sometimes people tell you, man, what a great game it was. You take yourself way too seriously. So it's, the job, I think, of a head coach and of anybody is trying to get people to stay in the moment, to keep it in having the proper perspective on things. Just keep things in its proper perspective. And if you start to ride that emotional roller coaster, you can't channel those emotions. It's very taxing. And I think you start to lose a little bit of perspective of who you are and focus on where you need to get a little bit better. And so it's about balance. It's about perspective. And it's about sustainability.
All right, Coach, I got one or two more for you here. So with you being the coach of the Steelers for, 15 years, how did you make that transition to CBS as a broadcaster? So, and I'll I guess, have a caveat with this question. Whenever I was watching you, I was, in 5th or 6th grade, whenever, you first drafted Ben, and I would see you're this gritty head coach. I would have never expected you to make that transition to broadcaster. But as soon as you did, I saw you on there. I'm like, man, he's killing it, and you're still killing it to this day. So, one, how did that situation come about where you were able to make that transition? And then how were you able to adapt and almost get outside of that NFL head coach mind into like a polished broadcaster?
Well, it's a good question. I said, I think the one thing that for coaches, when you have a weekly press conference, a weekly show that you end up doing as a responsibility, learning to send messages through the media. I know I learned a lot of that. I watched Bill Parcells. I thought he was a master of that. So you're already kind of used to being in front of the camera, right? And so, when I did step down, I was fortunate that CBS created another seat on their desk for me. They went from 4 to 5, and so that, that was a blessing in itself. And then coming on the show, really just it's just I try to give the perspective of a head coach. So many times you have players that see it from a player's perspective. And I just try to give the fans insight as to what you're thinking from a coaching perspective. Now, I played and coached. I played for 5 years in the league, and I went right into coaching. I was in the NFL as a player or coach, some respect for 23 straight years. And so, actually 28 years. I mean, I was 5 years as a player, 7 years as an assistant coach, and 15 years as a head coach. So from 1980 till I stepped down in 2006. And, I just think I've seen the game grow. I've been able to understand how we've gotten to certain elements of the game, even today, where safety is prevalent and a lot of the changes that have taken place. But, you see the game change, you see the types of players change, all based on social media. You just watch this whole thing evolve, and evolution is a part of life where everything's going to evolve. As we learn more from a technology standpoint, from a medical standpoint, we continue to do things that is evolution. And to be able to stay in the forefront of something is to also understand where you came from. How you got there makes it a lot easier for the viewer to understand when you're there. And so I just try to give a perspective and try to think about, trying to keep it simple. Not everyone's going to be, the daily football fans. It could be the weekly ones that turn it on. So you just kind of give them food for thought. We try to educate a little bit, and try to just touch on the hot button subjects that we do each week. And it's just, I feel blessed, getting Nate right off the field is kind of like, it's just been really refreshing having him, Boomer, and Phil Simms, quarterbacks, who've been to Super Bowls, won Super Bowls. And JB is kind of the glue. He's our point guard. He just keeps everything focused on the right thing, and he just directs us and he kind of feeds us. And he's our quarterback. So it's a really, and the great thing about it is we watch these games on Sunday. We sit there and just talk football. We get the blessing. I mean, I get to go in there every week. I see 32 or whatever, how many games we have, 12, 13 games. And it's just great doing it with players who play the game, guys who understand the game. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to watch with, and we have great respect for each other. We like each other a lot. So it's been a real blessing to be at CBS. It's a great platform, and it just also is giving me a great balance in life in terms of having an off season as well.
Oh, absolutely. Did you have an interview that you were nervous for, or most nervous for, some type of unique story behind it?
An interview that I was nervous for?
Yeah.
An interview in terms of just doing.
Oh no, yeah, you doing the interview for like CBS or National News.
Oh. No, you know what? I don't get nervous. Like an opportunity to go see Drew Brees. I enjoy sitting down talking to people that played the game. Like Arthur, you played it. I mean, unless you've played the game, it's hard to understand what you're talking about. The pressures that go with it, the amount of preparation you put into it. Every week you're being held accountable. Then all of a sudden, when there's changes taking place and you're not winning as a team, changes could be taking place in the coaching staff and how that trickles down as a player. Well, maybe I don't fit in anymore. It's just there's so many variables that are involved in the game that I enjoy talking to people just to see where they are in their perspective. Because, probably I've seen it from a player standpoint. I've seen it from an assistant coach standpoint. I've seen it from a head coaching standpoint. So I just like to kind of delve into who influenced you? I know who have been the people that have been most impactful on you? And what's your feelings about certain elements of the game, philosophically speaking? Just there's so many elements of it that I just think are enlightening. And as we talked about before, I just think the game of football, there's so many things that are also comparable to life that you can take over to life in terms of the demands, the focus, the accountability element of it, and the responsibility part of it. I mean, that's huge, particularly with the social platforms that are out there today. Don't take that lightly. And you're being looked at by young people, and there's a responsibility that goes with that. You're a role model whether you like it or not. That's what you are as a professional athlete.
Absolutely,
that's part of it. So, and I think that's, if you go back again, that's the educating part of it that you like to continue to do, is just to hand on the wisdom that you've been able to gather from others. I mean, your legacy to me is what you're able to pass on to people. And that's how you'll be remembered ultimately.
Absolutely. Hey, Coach Cowher, man, I definitely appreciate you again, man, taking time out to hop on the podcast with us, man. It definitely means a lot to both of us. Huge fans of everything that you did, not only as a coach, but what you continue to do in CBS. So just wish you nothing but the best going forward, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Deke. Thanks, Arthur. Enjoyed it, buddy.
All right, now.
No problem.